Okay, this is lesson 42, simplifying complex fractions. This is more of what we did last Friday. So we're just going to continue on. The steps are the same as last week. Rewrite the fraction as a division problem, solve using orders of operations, and solve portions of the problem first, then the big problem, okay? It'll kind of all come together when we simplify it. Okay, so number one, just watch right now. We got a over 16 minus 16 over a squared, all divided by 16. So I know that this is just a really big division problem. So I'm going to rewrite this because this whole numerator has its own set of parentheses and this whole denominator has its own set of parentheses. It's like saying this parenthesis divided by this parenthesis. Okay, so we got a over 16 minus 16 over a squared, all divided by, oh man, there's the answer. All divided by 16. Okay. Now we have this left side of the division problem. We want to find a common denominator here, okay, because we want to work this out because this is like a parenthesis. So this side has a 16, but it does not have a squared. So I'm going to multiply this left side by a squared and the numerator by a squared. Okay. This right side has a squared, but it does not have 16, so I'm going to multiply this right side, the denominator by 16, and the numerator by 16. Okay? This right side is just 16. There's nothing I can really simplify with it here. So now I'm going to multiply this out. A squared times a is a cubed. Okay, new common denominator, 16 times a squared is 16a squared. A cubed times a is a cubed. I'm sorry, a squared times a is a cubed. Negative 16 times 16 is negative 256. Okay. Bring down the division sign. But in this case, since I just have a 16 here, I'm going to multiply. Well, actually, I'll just bring it down. Divided by 16. All over 1. Now I'm going to rewrite this as a multiplying by the reciprocal. We get a cubed minus 256 all over 16a squared times the reciprocal 1/16. I'm going to ask myself if I could simplify anything here. A cubed minus 256, I can't simplify this. A cubed is a perfect cube, but 256 is a perfect square, so I can't really factor that. 16a squared, I can't factor with anything in the numerator or this other numerator, and 16 I can't either. So now I'm just going to multiply across. We got a cubed minus 256 times 1 is going to be a cubed minus 256. 16 times 16... or 16a squared times 16 is 256a squared. And that's it. That's how you do number 1. For the sake of time today, I'm not going to do the excluded values. Okay. But in this case, we do have excluded values. A cannot equal to 0, of course. Okay. That's it for number 1. Okay. Questions on number 1? Number 2, we got 1 over 4 plus 3/8, all divided by 1 over x plus 36 over x squared. So the first thing you want to do is you realize that this is a big parenthesis divided by another big parenthesis, right? So I'm just going to rewrite it so it's like easier to understand. Okay, so it's a big division problem. Each of these are their own set of parentheses, right? Okay, so over here we have 4, and we have an 8. Common denominator should be 8, right? So this side I just have to multiply by 2 here, and the numerator by 2 as well, okay? So we have 2 times 4 is going to be 8. We have a common denominator on this side. We're assuming there's parentheses here on the big left side. Right side, we're assuming there's parentheses here. So we have an x here. Over here we have x squared. This side just has an x, so I'm going to multiply this by x and the numerator by x, okay? So we got 2 times 1 is 2. And then we got positive 3. And our new common denominator of 8, okay? Divided by x times 1 is x. New common denominator is x squared plus 36. Okay. 2 plus 3 is 5. So I'm going to rewrite this, and I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. So we got 5 over 8 times x squared over x plus 36. Right now I can't do anything else. I can't really simplify 5 into 8. 5 doesn't go to x plus 36, so I can't do anything there. 8 doesn't go into 5 or x squared. And x plus 36, it has its own set of parentheses, right? So I can't really do anything with that. So now I'm going to multiply this across, numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. So 5 times x squared is 5x squared. Okay, denominator is going to be 8 times x is 8x. And then 8 times 36, I don't know how to do that in my head, but I could do a side problem. We get 288, okay? And that's it. Of course, I did not do excluded values for the sake of time, but excluded values, you can see right here we have denominators that are just x, so x can equal to 0. And then right here we have x plus 36, or 8x plus 288. You'd figure out x cannot equal to negative 36 either. So that's an excluded value. Okay? So you have 2 excluded values. For the sake of time, I'm not doing that, but that's it. Okay? Questions on numbers 1 or 2? Okay, so let's have, since it's Monday, let's start with the 1s first. 1s are going to talk to the 2s about number 1. And then 2s talk to the 1s about number 2. Okay, ready? Okay, so number 3. I'm going to hide number 4. So, number 3 will start together and then you'll finish it off. We got 1 over u plus 9 over 16 all over 4 over 3u. Okay, turn to your neighbor, give your neighbor a hint of a different way to look at this problem. Okay? So isn't this a big division problem, right?
Yeah.
So let's rewrite this as 1 over u plus 9/16, all divided by 4 over 3u. Okay? Looking at this first denominator, what's missing here that should be here for a common denominator?
16.
16, good. So let's multiply this denominator by 16 and the numerator by 16. Looking at the second denominator, what's missing here? U. Okay. Okay. Now this whole left side is its own parentheses, so you have to assume that this is all, we were all working inside this big parentheses, right? So we have to do PEMDAS first. So now we have to simplify. Our new common denominator is 16u. Numerator is 16 times 1, 16. 9 times u is u. And then bring the rest of the problem down. And while we're at it, let's just multiply by the reciprocal, because there's nothing I could really do with the second fraction, okay? I want you to finish this problem by yourself now. And your final answer. I'll give you about a minute. Number 3, your answer should be the following. You should have canceled out the u and u here, right? These two u's could have canceled out. Multiplying 16 times 3 is 48. 9u times 3 is 27u. 16 times 4 is 64. I can't simplify anything else, so that's it. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And notice it's in descending order. I know that 9u was second, but I put it first because I like having it in descending order. Okay, number 4, by yourselves, all the way through. Go. So that's the answer to number 4. No last questions, right, on this one? All right, let's continue on. Okay, so on this one, I'll start us off because this one looks scary. But remember, it's this whole numerator divided by this whole denominator, right? Do you agree? So all you got to do is just rewrite this as x plus 1 over x minus x plus 1 over x squared divided by x plus 1 over 2x minus 9 over, and there should be a minus in there, yeah, over x squared, okay? And you just go slowly, okay? We know this whole left side is its own set of parentheses. I'm not putting them in there for the sake of space, but you have to assume that. And this whole right side is its own set of parentheses. Again, I'm not putting them in for the sake of space, okay? Now we have, looking at our first two denominators here, what's missing in this first denominator that the second one has? X. So we're just going to multiply this by x and the numerator by x, okay? Is the second denominator missing anything?
No.
No, so we can move on with our lives, right?
Yeah.
Okay, third denominator, what's it missing?
Which one? X.
The third denominator.
Missing 2. X.
Just x, right? And we're going to multiply that into x plus 1, right? Because it's got its own set of parentheses. What about this last denominator, x squared? What's it missing?
2.
Okay. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to multiply this out. We got x times x plus 1. So let's work this out. What's x times x? X squared.
Plus X.
Ah.
Soiled it. 2x squared.
No, you didn't see anything. Okay, x times 1 is x. Okay? What's negative sign times an x? What's negative times an x? Negative x, right? And then what's negative sign times a positive 1? What's negative positive 1? Negative 1. Okay? All over x squared. That's our first one, right? We're going to divide by the next side. It's going to be x times x is x squared. X times 1 is 1x. Minus 9. What's negative 9 times 2? What's negative 9 times 2?
Negative 18.
Negative 18. Okay. So what's x times 2x? 2x squared, right? Okay, so the answer is 2x squared minus 2 over x squared plus x minus 18. Why is that the case? It's because at this point, you should multiply by the reciprocal, right? You got x squared minus 1 over x squared times 2x squared over x squared plus x plus 18. Can we factor out this numerator here? Can we factor this numerator out?
No.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, yeah.
It's x plus 1, x minus 1, right? Over here is x squared, this is 2x squared. Can I factor this denominator at all?
No.
No. This stays the way it is. So the only thing I could factor out or simplify is x squared diagonal. That's it. You multiply across. So that's your answer. Okay? That concludes the lesson.